Well, I grew up in a Christian family. Both parents Christians, two sisters, both of them Christians. Became a Christian when I was 5 years old. All growing up, knew about God, became a Christian at 5 years old, in fact. And I remember sharing Christ with my friends there. I really loved God at that point. But somewhere along the way, growing up, there was a transition where I thought that loving and a relationship with God looked like doing and serving. Throughout high school, I was a really good person, didn't get involved in any of the things that were what would be considered non-Christian. But through that process, it was more about me and who I was as a good person, as a self-righteous person, than it was about God and my relationship with Him and knowing Him as He knows me. When I got to LSU, I got involved with Campus Crusade, got involved with BSU, got involved with, it just seemed like I got involved with my fraternity Bible study. I was about a mile wide but an inch deep. And then when I heard, one day I heard someone share about Young Life, and my wife now, Raina, had told me about Young Life because she was involved with it. But when I heard this person speak about Young Life, I was like, I got to check this out, and then went through the leadership training, the semester of training, and just fell in love with the relational aspect of Young Life and how it's about loving people right where they are, not asking them to change, but loving them in the midst of all their junk and letting God's love be the one that changes them. And so I got involved with that, and at the same time was becoming an officer in the military and falling in love with my wife, and all that was happening kind of simultaneously. I graduated from LSU, and I'd always planned on being a millionaire, but somewhere along the line, God changed that vision and direction towards going on staff with Young Life, and so I made that jump and love it. Haven't looked back from that. It was not long. I went through engineer officer basic training, and not long after I got back from that, went on staff with Young Life and got a call that I was getting deployed to Afghanistan with the 528th Engineer Battalion, and spent a year over there building roads, building provincial reconstructive teams, compounds, and rapid runway repair. That was on the outside, but really I think God had me there to do a work in my life, to draw me to a dependent relationship with Him, because I didn't have any other Christians in the military that were with me. And then also to be able to share Christ with people over there. And He set up translators. He set up all sorts of things. So I could hand out the gospel of Jesus Christ to these Afghani people. God really built my faith up by protecting us through attacks and all that kind of stuff. Built me up in a huge way while I was there in my relationship with Him, and then came back and got sent to New Orleans with Katrina. And it was at that point where God really started digging deep in my life and He was rooting out this self-righteousness. And that's where I came crumbling down. I was dealing with a lot of really terrible things in New Orleans, dealing with the fact that I couldn't deal with it on my own, and came back with, I guess you could call it post-traumatic stress, but I was just depressed, struggling, wondering if God really loved me. My relationship with Raina was struggling, incredibly selfish, just because I didn't have anything to give, and God was breaking me. It came to head at one point when I ended up hitting Raina, and kind of pawned that off on. It was just a terrible day. I apologized to her, but the reality was that we were in a terrible place, and she had talked to her Young Life leader about it, and the next day they came in just a loving way. And I remember lying through my teeth trying to get out of that. Just, oh yeah, everything's going to be better. I promise we're going to deal with it. But just realizing after they left that there was a hardness in my heart and a bitterness towards God, and just wondering where He was. But I'd promised Him I was going to go to counseling, and I always did what I said. And so we went to counseling, and it was through that hitting of Raina, through all the struggles I was going through having to go to counseling, which I always thought was for messed up people, that I realized I was messed up. That I realized that all this deck of cards that I'd set up for my whole life of being a good person, being this holy person, was worthless, and it all came tumbling down. And that was the process where I think God really started building a new foundation in my life of not building my Christian walk on all the things I did, but building it on who Christ is and who He is in my life and my relationship with Him. And not me going out and doing a million things, but me walking in dependence moment by moment on Him, abiding in Christ. And so that was transformational, those few years as I went through that. Ended up... Regional director asked us to move up to Oxford, and I remember the first thing that I said was, "Where's Oxford?" And he explained it to me, and we came up here for an interview, and we told him no at first. We said, "No, we're not moving here. We've got a lot of stuff going on in Baton Rouge, and this is where God has us." And God weighed it really heavily on our heart the next day that Oxford was a place that we were moving. And so we said, we prayed about it for a couple more weeks, and then ended up saying, "Yes, we're coming." And we moved up here almost 4 years ago and are now doing ministry with about 25 college students at Oxford High School, Oxford Middle School, and at Lafayette High School. And we love it. We love this community. Love the way that God's working in this church, and are excited to see what He does in the city of Oxford.